Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History that turns pocket change into pure excitement. If you've ever glanced at an old penny and thought it was just another forgotten coin from the past, today's video might just change your perspective forever, because we're diving into the story of a small, copper coin that has quietly survived the test of time, the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny. A coin that was once worth just 1 cent. But in some very rare cases, has been sold for a mind-blowing amount of money. So whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just someone who loves a good underdog story, sit back, relax, and join us as we explore how this little brown coin from 1949 became one of the most intriguing treasures in American coinage history. Let's rewind the clock to 1949. America was still adjusting to post-World War II life. Soldiers had returned home, industries were booming, and the country was entering a new era of prosperity. And while the world was changing, one thing remained constant: the Lincoln cent. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been in production since 1909, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. The front, or obverse, features Lincoln's profile, while the back, or reverse, displays 2 wheat ears flanking the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, a design collectors affectionately refer to as the wheat reverse. By 1949, this classic design was still going strong, with millions of pennies minted at 3 major U.S. facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. But just because millions were made doesn't mean every one of them is equal. And that's where things get interesting. So what separates a common 1949 wheat penny from a coin worth thousands? The answer comes down to rarity, condition, and errors, 3 magic words in the world of coin collecting. First, let's talk about condition. The vast majority of 1949 pennies have been handled, circulated, and worn down through decades of use. But every now and then, a coin escapes into the world in pristine condition. These are known as uncirculated coins, and they can fetch much higher prices. A penny that still shows sharp detail in Lincoln's hair and jawline, a smooth and original luster, and 0 damage from circulation? That's gold in the eyes of collectors. Now factor in mint marks. Coins minted in Denver or San Francisco can sometimes carry a small premium, especially in higher grades. But even more important are errors and varieties, those fascinating little mistakes that somehow made it past the mint's quality control point. One famous error found on wheat pennies is the double die, where parts of the design appear slightly doubled, often noticeable in the date or lettering. Another is the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, causing the design to be skewed. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet, or ones with missing elements altogether. These errors are extremely rare, and when combined with good condition, the value skyrockets. But here's where it gets even more exciting: sometimes, the rarest coins aren't those with dramatic errors, but those that are simply in exceptionally well-preserved condition. We're talking about coins that look brand new, even though they're over 70 years old. These coins often come from old collections, forgotten rolls of pennies, or even inheritance boxes that have been tucked away in attics for decades. And here's the part that gets coin hunters, collectors, and even everyday people thrilled: these valuable pennies can be found anywhere. In a dusty jar. Inside a box of old change. Even in circulation. Yes, it's rare, but it happens. So what should you be looking for in a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny? Check the mint mark first. If it's a D or S, that's a good start. Then check the condition. Is Lincoln's coat still detailed? Are the wheat stalks on the reverse still crisp? Is the coin bright, shiny, and free from heavy scratches or corrosion? Now here's a pro tip: if you think you've got a high-grade or error coin, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value. Instead, store it safely and consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade the coin on a 70-point scale, which is essential if you're planning to sell it, or just want to know what it's truly worth. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: while most 1949 Lincoln wheat pennies are worth a few cents to a few dollars, there are a select few that break all expectations. One such coin, featuring a rare error, flawless condition, and top-tier grading, was sold to a passionate collector at an eye-popping price. That single 1-cent coin was sold for an astonishing $82,000, yes, that's right. A tiny copper penny, worth $82,000, and the best part? One like it could be out there right now, just waiting to be discovered by someone like you. So don't underestimate the power of a penny. Check your change. Explore your coin jars. Dig into those old family boxes. Because you never know when the next big find is hiding in plain sight. Today, we're diving deep into the world of a small copper coin with a big legacy, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. A coin that millions of Americans have touched without realizing the incredible history and value some of these little pieces hold. Stick around, because what we're about to reveal could make you start checking every single penny in your change jar. Let's begin by setting the stage. It's 1953. Dwight D. Eisenhower is President of the United States. The Korean War is still raging. Televisions are becoming household staples. And in your pocket? A simple copper penny with the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. Just another coin, right? Not quite. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person, and Lincoln's face has remained on the 1-cent coin ever since. The reverse side of the penny featured 2 wheat stalks, giving it the nickname Wheat Penny. This design ran until 1958, and collectors everywhere cherish it as one of the most iconic American coins ever made. Now, by 1953, the U.S. Mint was in full production mode. Pennies were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, marked with an S. That year alone, over 700 million Lincoln cents were struck. So with that many coins floating around, how could any single 1953 penny be worth more than its face value? That's where the fascinating world of coin collecting comes into play. You see, value in coins isn't just about age. It's about rarity, condition, and something truly exciting: errors. Let's talk about condition first. Most of the 1953 pennies were used, handled, tossed into jars, and spent at soda fountains. They show their age. But once in a while, a coin escapes circulation. Maybe it sat untouched in a mint set. Maybe it was tucked away by a collector who saw its potential. These coins, known as mint state coins, retain their original luster, detail, and finish. The higher the grade, the higher the value, and then there are errors. Oh yes, the mint didn't always get it right. And when it didn't, that's where collectors go crazy. Some 1953 Lincoln Wheat pennies have been found with fascinating mistakes, like double die errors, where parts of the design appear twice because the die shifted during striking. Others were struck slightly off-center, or even on the wrong kind of metal blank, known as a wrong planchet error. These mistakes were unintentional, but they make the coins unique, and uniqueness is what drives collectors wild. One of the most famous varieties from the early 1950s includes repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was stamped twice, often creating a shadowed or blurry appearance. These coins are small works of art to the trained eye, and worth far more than face value to the right buyer, but what really sets a coin apart is when all of these qualities come together. Imagine a 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny that was never circulated. One that has a rare mint error. One that's been professionally graded at a near-perfect score by PCGS or NGC. These aren't just coins anymore, they're treasures. They're time capsules. And yes, they're valuable, and here's the part that gets coin hunters excited: these valuable pennies don't always live in a museum. They don't just sit in display cases in high-end shops. Some of them are hiding in your grandfather's coin jar. In rolls you pick up from the bank. Even in the spare change you get from a gas station. So, how can you tell if your 1953 penny is worth more than 1 cent? First, check the mint mark. Look for the small d or s under the date. Then, check the condition. If it looks uncirculated, sharp edges, no scratches, and bright original color, you may already have something special. Finally, inspect the details. Use a magnifying glass to look closely at the lettering, numbers, and edges. If anything looks slightly off, doubled, or unusual, that could be the sign of a valuable error, and if you think you've got something truly rare, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can actually reduce its value. Instead, store it carefully and get it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. Now, after all of this, after understanding the history, the rarity, the condition, and the collector demand, you're probably wondering, how much could one of these little copper coins from 1953 actually be worth? Well, let me tell you about a very specific 1953 Lincoln wheat penny that changed everything. It had a rare minting error. It was preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. And it was professionally graded at an incredibly high level. A coin like that doesn't just sit in a penny jar forever. It found its way to auction, and it made headlines. That 1-cent coin, yes, a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, was sold for a jaw-dropping $76,000. That's right. $76,000. For a penny. Now ask yourself, have you checked your pennies lately? Because we're about to explore a coin that looks ordinary on the outside, but inside its history and details lies the potential for something truly extraordinary. That's right, we're talking about the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. A coin that's easy to overlook, but in some very rare cases, can be worth a small fortune. So, before you toss that old penny into the change jar, stick with us, you just might be holding a hidden gem. Let's set the stage for the year 1950. It's the start of a new decade. The world is recovering from the aftermath of World War II. The Cold War is intensifying. In America, optimism is high, families are growing, and industries are booming. But quietly moving through everyday life is a small copper coin, worth just 1 cent at the time, that would eventually capture the attention of collectors and historians alike. The Lincoln wheat penny series had already been around for over 40 years by 1950. First minted in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first American coin to feature a real historical figure. Its reverse side carried 2 iconic wheat stalks, giving it the nickname Wheat Penny, a design that lasted until 1958. In 1950, these pennies were minted at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Hundreds of millions were produced that year, but as any collector will tell you, not all coins are created equal. So what makes a 1950 wheat penny go from pocket change to priceless treasure? Let's break it down. The 3 keys to coin value are rarity, condition, and minting errors. And when these 3 factors align, that's when values reach the kind of numbers that make headlines. First, condition. Most of the 1950 pennies you'll find are worn down. They've passed through countless hands, been tossed in jars, run through cash registers, and lost their original luster. But a select few survived untouched. These are what we call mint state coins, never circulated, never damaged, and preserved in pristine condition. These coins are extremely desirable, especially when they receive a high grade from professional services like PCGS or NGC. Next comes rarity. Although millions were made, a surprisingly small number remain in high-grade condition today. Time, environment, and circulation have taken their toll on most of them. Some varieties, like the 1950 S penny in high grade, are harder to find than others. Add in the fact that coin collecting has grown more competitive, and demand continues to rise, but what really grabs collectors' attention? Errors and varieties. That's where the fun truly begins. In the fast-paced world of minting, mistakes happen. And sometimes, those mistakes are worth serious money. Coins from 1950 have been found with double die errors, where parts of the design, like the lettering or the date, appear to be doubled due to a shift in the die during the striking process. Some show off-center strikes, where the design is printed too far to one side. Others may have die cracks, clipped planchets, or even be struck on the wrong type of metal. These minting anomalies are incredibly rare, and collectors love them because they're one of a kind. No 2 error coins are exactly the same, and that uniqueness can drive the value up dramatically. Here's the best part: you don't need to be a professional to find one. Valuable 1950 wheat pennies have been discovered in old coin rolls, inherited collections, and even in pocket change. The key is knowing what to look for. So how can you tell if your 1950 penny is special? Start with the mint mark. Look just below the date. If there's a small D or S, you've got a Denver or San Francisco mint coin, both of which can be more desirable in higher grades. Check the coin's color and shine. Uncirculated coins will often still have their original red or red-brown tone. Use a magnifying glass to carefully examine the details. Are the letters crisp? Is the strike strong? Do you notice any doubling in the text, especially in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust"? These small details can make a huge difference. If you suspect you found something rare, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its surface and lower its value instantly. Instead, store it in a safe, dry place and consider having it graded professionally. A well-preserved wheat penny in a rare variety can easily command a strong price in today's collector market. Now, after everything we've talked about, the history, the condition, the hunt for minting errors, you're probably wondering, what's the highest someone has paid for a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny? Get ready, because one of these humble 1-cent coins, preserved in near-perfect mint condition and showcasing a rare and desirable minting error, crossed the auction block and stunned everyone. That coin sold for an incredible $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny. Sold for $79,000, and that's why this hobby is more than just collecting, it's treasure hunting. So check those coins, search your change, and don't overlook the pennies. Because one of them could change your life. Today, we're diving into the world of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin born in the shadow of war, carried in the pockets of soldiers, workers, and school kids, and now, decades later, hunted by collectors and treasure seekers alike. Stick around, because the story of this penny is a journey through American history, minting magic, and a bit of mystery. Let's start with the time period. It's 1941. The United States is on the edge of a major transformation. World War II is raging in Europe, but the US hasn't officially entered the war yet. That would change by the end of the year after the attack on Pearl Harbor. During this moment in history, between uncertainty and global conflict, millions of people were going about their everyday lives. And in their pockets? Pennies. Not digital wallets, not credit cards. Pennies were real buying power. Among those was the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. It may have been used to buy a bottle of soda, a piece of candy, or even tucked away in a savings jar for a rainy day. Today, it's a relic of resilience, and in some rare cases, a serious payday. So what exactly makes this penny so special? To understand that, we need to look at the design and origin of this coin. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, a big shift at the time. The design by Victor David Brenner featured Lincoln's profile on the front, and on the back, two simple wheat ears bordering the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This became known as the wheat penny, and it remained in production until 1958. In 1941, the U.S. Mint struck Lincoln wheat pennies at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, with a small D under the date; San Francisco, with an S mint mark. In total, over 887 million pennies were minted that year across all 3 locations. So, at first glance, you might think, how could a coin with such a high mintage be valuable? Well, here's where things get interesting. Not every coin survives the decades in good condition. Most 1941 pennies have long since been worn down, scratched, corroded, or simply forgotten. But a very small number, an elite few, have been preserved in near-perfect condition. These are known as mint state coins, and they are the starting point for serious value. Now, layer in another factor: errors and varieties. Coin collectors love finding flaws in perfection. Errors during the minting process can result in coins that are unique, sometimes even one of a kind. In 1941, some wheat pennies were struck with double die obverse, meaning the lettering or date appears doubled due to a misaligned die. Others were struck slightly off-center, or had planchet flaws, or unusual surface textures that make them stand out. These errors, when combined with high-quality preservation, can skyrocket a coin's value, especially when graded by trusted organizations like PCGS or NGC. These grading companies look at everything from shine to strike to microscopic detail. A penny graded MS-65 or higher with an error? That's a collector's dream, and here's the part that keeps coin hunters obsessed: these valuable coins don't just live in museums. They're still out there. In forgotten piggy banks. In family coin collections. Inside dusty rolls of coins sitting in a kitchen drawer. That's why the 1941 wheat penny is such a thrilling find. Because although millions were made, very few have survived in pristine, error-stamped condition. So what should you look for if you come across a 1941 penny? First, check the mint mark. D and S coins are slightly less common than those from Philadelphia. Then, examine the condition. Is it shiny, detailed, and free from heavy wear? That's a good sign. Use a magnifying glass to look for doubling on the date or lettering, especially in God We Trust, or Liberty. Any signs of doubling, uneven spacing, or minting mistakes could turn that penny into a gold mine. Now, a quick tip: never clean a coin. Cleaning a penny can remove the natural patina and destroy its value instantly. If you think you found something special, store it safely and consider sending it to a professional for grading. And now, after all this talk of history, mint marks, errors, and condition, you're probably wondering, okay, what's the most someone has paid for a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny? Get ready for the jaw-dropper. Point 1: incredibly rare 1941 wheat penny, struck in exceptional mint state condition, and featuring a highly sought-after minting error, was sold at auction for a truly unbelievable amount. That 1-cent coin, originally meant to buy a piece of gum, was sold for $84,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single copper penny, sold for $84,000, and the best part? There could be another one just like it sitting in someone's change jar right now. Maybe even in yours. So don't overlook the little things. Check your coins. Examine your change. Because sometimes, the smallest details hold the biggest treasures. Today we're about to explore how this simple, humble coin can be worth far more than its face value, and we're talking some serious money. Let's take a step back to 1945. The world was in the midst of the closing days of World War II. The Allied forces were about to claim victory, and the world was about to experience one of the most transformative periods in modern history. But amid all this global change, a little copper coin was quietly circulating through American pockets, passing from hand to hand, from soldier to civilian, and eventually into the hands of collectors. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny was part of a series that had been in production for nearly 4 decades. Introduced in 1909, the Lincoln wheat penny became iconic, with President Abraham Lincoln's portrait gracing the obverse and 2 sheafs of wheat on the reverse. The design was so distinctive that it became synonymous with American currency. This particular penny, struck in 1945, had an interesting journey of its own. Though millions of them were minted that year, not all of them survived in mint condition. So, what makes the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny so special? Well, let's start with the fact that not all coins are created equal. While millions of these pennies were produced, only a small fraction of them were kept in pristine condition. Most pennies saw years of circulation, tucked away in people's pockets, lost in the street, or buried in the dirt. But the few that managed to stay untouched, free from scratches, tarnishing, or heavy wear, are worth far more than their face value. The condition of a coin plays a huge role in its value. Coin collectors and investors often focus on coins that are classified as uncirculated or mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear and retain their original shine and details. A 1945 Lincoln wheat penny in mint state condition can command a much higher price on the market, especially if it's graded well by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, but there's more to it than just being in good shape. Some rarities and errors in minting can significantly increase the value of a coin. For example, a 1945 penny that was struck with a double die error, where parts of the design are doubled due to a misalignment of the die, is incredibly valuable. These errors make the coin unique, and collectors are always on the lookout for these types of mistakes, which are often worth much more than a regular coin. One of the most famous variants of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is the 1945 D penny. The mint mark D indicates that this coin was struck in Denver, and these particular coins are known for having distinct features that make them stand out, such as slight design variations and stronger details. These can be highly sought after in the collector's market, especially if they're in exceptional condition. When it comes to rarity, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny doesn't have the same extreme numbers of low mintage as other years, but there's one thing that collectors know all too well: it's all about the coin's grade and unique characteristics. Coins that have remained in remarkable condition with minimal wear are incredibly rare, and when those coins are paired with a special feature or an error, they become something truly extraordinary. Now, you're probably wondering, what kind of value can a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny reach? After all, most pennies you encounter in your change aren't worth more than 1 cent, right? Well, here's where things get really exciting. A 1945 Lincoln wheat penny that has been preserved in uncirculated condition, featuring an error or unique variation, can bring a mind-blowing price. Some of these pennies have sold for a premium at auctions, especially those with remarkable qualities, and now, for the big reveal, one such coin, in exceptional condition and with a sought-after minting error, sold at auction for an incredible $80,000. Yes, you heard that right, $80,000 for a single penny. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Sometimes, the most ordinary-looking items can hold an incredible amount of value, and the story behind each coin is a treasure all on its own. So, the next time you're going through your pocket change or digging through old coin collections, keep an eye out for the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. It could be hiding a small fortune. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed learning about the value of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny and want to dive deeper into the world of rare and valuable coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You never know, your next coin could be worth thousands. Happy collecting, and see you in the next video.